Welcome to PVTV English edition. In this program, the state of play in Myanmar. We are going to deliver current affairs review by PVTV. So that our friends around the world who are craving for democracy and human rights get a better understanding of the actual footage of the situations in Myanmar. So please tune in to our program.
Myanmar military killing and destroying the livelihoods of the civilians with airstrikes. As the numbers of casualties of the security forces of the military have been rising on the ground, the terrorist Myanmar military is continuously increasing their momentum of using heavy artillery and airstrikes. Particularly, the use of airstrikes has significantly increased in the past 2 months and led to several thousands of innocent civilians fleeing their homes. Recently, the terrorist military used fighter jets and helicopters to attack the Karenni region and Shan-Karenni border. These ceaseless attacks destroyed a large number of households and took the lives of innocent civilians. In fact, since the beginning of the third week of February, the military had begun their excessive launch of attacks with heavy artillery, including tanks on the ground and bombings from the air on a town called Nam Me Kong in Karenni state. It can be concluded that the military targeted and attacked Nam Me Kong by means of both air and ground to gain control of it due to its military strategic importance of the area. However, the security forces of the military were no match to the local People's Defense Forces (PDF) on the ground and lost hundreds of soldiers from their troops. But it was not without a sacrifice, as some of the local PDFs also gave their lives protecting the civilians during the intensive clashes, mainly because of the excessive use of artillery and air bombings. According to the information from the ground, the terrorist military suffered over 100 losses, while around 30 PDFs lost their lives. Furthermore, the overall attacks of the airstrikes from the terrorist military covered the whole area with no exceptions of civilians' presence or otherwise, resulting in killing 3 innocent civilians and injuring 5, including elderly people on 23rd February alone in Nam Me Kong of Karenni state. In addition, on the third week of February in Mo Bie, which situates on the border of Shan and Karenni, many people got seriously injured because of the airstrikes. These airstrikes were carried out together with heavy artillery shelling and armored vehicles due to the fact that the military had suffered substantial amount of losses in the area during the same week. Even though Karenni was being targeted most recently, the terrorist military have been deploying fighter jets and helicopters and launching airstrikes across the country, including Kachin, Karen, Karenni, Chen, Zagai, Magwe viciously and mercilessly since after they staged the coup. Less than a year into the failed coup, hundreds of airstrikes were carried out by the terrorist military in around 20 townships. These attacks from the air led civilians to abandon their homes and businesses which they have spent their whole lives building them. Even so, all of these were destroyed and crushed into pieces under the military's brutality. According to a recent report issued by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees (UNHCR), more than 450,000 people have been displaced across the country in over a year since the military coup. At this moment, displaced people are not only facing with difficulties finding shelters, food and water, but also facing the shortages of supplies to withstand the tough weather. UNHCR said that the number of displaced people in Sagaing region, where the fights are currently taking place, had risen by 10,000. However, resistance against the military remains strong in Sagaing. Local PDFs, they are stronger than ever mentally and are advantageous in military capabilities despite insufficient weapons and ammunition. That is the reason why the terrorist military continues to try so hard to suppress and occupy villages in Sagaing region by air force. As a tradition, the military chooses to use the assistance of fighter jets and helicopters to launch air attacks and shootings whenever its mission fails on the ground. Not long ago, a fighter jet attempting to bomb Sagaing region crashed on the way and caused the death of its pilot on the spot. This incident brought no tears to the locals, rather they believed that it is the right path for the deceased, who would have otherwise caused harm and destruction to innocent people. In reality, these bombings used by the terrorist military against the civilians amounts to war crimes according to the international law. The National Unity Government and international law experts have also suggested and encouraged that the Security Council needs to take actions on these crimes committed by the military to the civilians. The National Unity Government has issued warnings that crimes such as bombings through means of airstrikes and shooting civilians and innocent bystanders are clear violations of international martial law and proportionality principle related to the law of armed conflicts. Although Myanmar people and human rights experts have been requesting the Security Council to issue a no-fly zone, the United Nations failed to take a single action on it. Nevertheless, military experts suspect that the terrorist military will not be able to keep up its measures of air attacks in the long run, as it requires to utilize a great number of human and financial resources. Moreover, nowadays, there are cases where some military pilots who got the intellect to realize that the inhumane actions of the military are unacceptable and had chosen to leave the army and their positions to join with the people of Myanmar. In addition, using a variety of tactics, ethnic armed groups and local PDFs have been preparing defenses to respond and fight back air and artillery shootings of the military, which is deemed to be the most advantageous methods by the terrorist military. Likewise, analysts also expect that the uprising will triumph in a matter of time, since Myanmar people have no more tolerance on the vicious acts of the terrorist military, a group which has no regard for the lives and properties of the civilians of the country.
PVTV ကမြို့တော်လိုင်းရေးဆိုင်ရာအစီအစဉ်ကောင်းတွေကိုရည်စည်တင်ဆက်ပေးနေရှိပါတယ်။ PVTV ကထုတ်လွှင့်တင်ဆက်ပေးနေတဲ့အစီအစဉ်တွေကို PVTV ရဲ့တရားဝင် YouTube Channel ဖြစ်တဲ့ youtube.com/c/PVTV မြန်မာကို Subscribe လုပ်ကြည့်ရှုပေးကြရဖြင့်တော်လိုင်းကိုတစ်ဆက်တအားဖုန်းမှုပြည်ပေးနိုင်ပြီဖြစ်ကြောင်းသတင်းကောင်းပါလိုက်ပါတယ်ရှင်။စိတ်ရက်ကလစ်တွေနဲ့တော်လိုင်းရေးကိုနိုင်တဲ့ဘက်ကထိတ်ဆက်အားဖြစ်လိုက်ကြအောင်ပါ။အရေးတော်ပုံအောင်ရမည်။